Hello students. So the topic for today is scientific method. Why is scientific method important? This scientific method is important because it helps us to ask questions, test our ideas, and find reliable answers using evidence, not guesses. So for example, does sunlight affect plant growth? How do we know this? We need evidence. To get evidence, to get our answer, we need scientific method. This slide shows you the process of scientific method. First of all, it will be to observe. Look closely around you. What is your question? What do you actually want to find out? Then you make a prediction or guess an answer to the question that you have. Then the fourth step would be to conduct an experiment. You test your hypothesis. Do an experiment and collect as well as record your data. Once you have recorded your data, your information, you need to analyze the results. See what the results tells you. This gives you a conclusion if your hypothesis was correct or wrong. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis was the prediction you made at the third step just before you conduct your experiment. And finally, once you have a conclusion, you will communicate and share your results with others. So this is how a scientific method works. Students, before we conduct an experiment, the first thing we need to know would be what I shared in the previous slide, the scientific method. The next that we need to know is variables. There are three types of variables that you can see in the slide, which is the manipulated, constant variable, and responding variable. These words is very important throughout your science lesson right up to year 11. So please focus on this part. Now, manipulated variables are things that you change. Okay? Constant variable will be the things that you keep the same. Whereas the responding variable will be the one that you need to find out or you measure in your experiment. Okay? So let's go to the next slide. So you need to remember, for every experiment, we need to have a fair test. To conduct a fair test, we have three types of variables. First would be the manipulated, constant, and responding. So the manipulated variable is changed. For example, in this slide, the amount of sunlight given to the plant. It is 2 hours of sunlight, 4 hours of sunlight, or 6 hours of sunlight. This is what you change. This is called the manipulated variable, the thing that you change in an experiment. The second column is the constant variable. Constant variables are kept the same throughout the experiment. For example, the type of plant, the type of soil, and the type of pot, the size of the pot, or the amount of the water are kept the same. This is what makes the experiment a fair test, also called the constant variable. And finally, the responding variable. This variable is what we measure or observe. For example, the height of the plant after 1 week. So this is what we actually want, consider our results, the one that we measure.